Memory reconsolidation is an understanding that we're just coming to grips with over the last 4 or 5 years. And what Bruce has done has brought it into the context of doing therapy. That's what we want to talk to him. Coherence therapy, reconsolidation. Let's get on to Bruce.
We've developed a new framework that isn't about any one therapy, including coherence therapy. We call it the emotional coherence framework. It's a unified body of knowledge, the latest, what I would tempted to call advanced knowledge now that we have about how emotional memory works and how emotional learning, deep implicit learning, and unlearning work. This reconsolidation is the brain's built-in mechanism for profound unlearning of existing emotional learnings. So, it's a non-theoretical framework that isn't tied to any one system of therapy. We use coherence therapy as a demonstration platform in the book to show in an instructional, clear manner how the therapeutic reconsolidation process can be used. But we also show the therapeutic reconsolidation process unfolding in 4 other therapies. AEDP, Diana Foch's approach, emotion-focused therapy, EFT, EMDR, and also IPNB, interpersonal neurobiology, Daniel Siegel's approach. And we show that even though those therapies don't describe their own steps, their own methodology in these terms, nevertheless, these core steps of process that make up the therapeutic reconsolidation process are definitely detectable in all of the therapies. And we demonstrate that in the book. Coherence therapy is perhaps distinctive only in the sense that its own self-definition matches the reconsolidation research, the steps of process identified by neuroscience researchers. Coherence therapy matches their results very explicitly step for step. And so that's why coherence therapy serves so nicely as a demonstration platform for instructional purposes. One of the significant pieces of the picture that's developed from the neuroscience is that the reconsolidation process, the unlocking process of the synapses on that cellular and molecular level, that type of neuroplasticity is actually, according to current neuroscience, that's the only mechanism in the brain that can unlock these synapses. There's no other mechanism on the cellular level and no other behavioral sequence of experiences on the subjective level that I described can unlock the synapses, according to current neuroscience. That's not theoretical, that's the empirical state of the field. So whenever we see the kind of profound change you were just describing, where a long-standing emotional reaction that's been pretty intense stops and doesn't return, and symptoms of mood, behavior, or thought that were being produced by that emotional reaction or schema also cease happening and don't return, and the absence of the symptom and the emotional reaction are effortless as of then. No counteractive work or maintenance work is needed because the underlying emotional learning that was driving the symptom literally no longer exists. What I just mentioned are the markers. Those are the observable markers of this transformational change that, as far as we now know, only reconsolidation can bring about. So when we see that kind of change, when we see those markers, it's legitimate at this point to infer that this process occurred, whether or not it was noticed, in the moment, in the sessions. In other words, that the reconsolidation process, in fact, occurred. And in fact, that logic that I just chalked out, that it has to be reconsolidation if you see the markers of that kind of change, has been showing up in the field more and more. I piped up about that back in 2006, and then We've had, let's see, since then, in 2008, Francine Shapiro published the same logic, making the point that reconsolidation appears to be the underlying mechanism for the change they see in the changes, the transformational shifts that are seen in doing EMDR. And then in 2010, Leslie Greenberg, one of the co-founders of emotion-focused therapy, published an article in which, similarly, he ascribed the transformational changes they see in EFT to the reconsolidation mechanism. Again, according to the same logic that when you see that kind of change, it has to be reconsolidation, to our best neuroscientific knowledge at present. We're trying to put that process in the hands of as many therapists as possible, whether they do it through coherence therapy or any one of a number of different therapies. You saw in chapter 1 of our manuscript that we've listed about, 15 or 20 different therapies that we see as particularly congenial to guiding the therapeutic reconsolidation process, if only the therapist knows to do so while using that particular therapy. So it's a very accessible process for many different orientations.
Unlocking the emotional brain. We'll have to knock off because just simply time. I mean, we've only just begun. We've only just scratched the surface, but you've scratched it really nicely and given us an insight into.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, goodbye, everybody.